Hi, I'm Amber, and welcome to the Lone Star Keto Podcast. Today we have Mahek with us. She's a lifestyle coach and a fitness trainer, and she is currently in India, and she's going to give us some good insights on what's going on over there as far as fitness and diet and etc. Welcome, Mahek.
Thank you, Amber. Thank you. It's so nice to be on your sharing screen with you.
Absolutely. I just adore you. I
Thank
follow
you.
I follow her on Instagram, and she's so positive, and she's always doing stuff, and it's just I just love watching her. She kind of lights up my morning. But
Thank you.
let's start with your background. Tell us even your health struggles, if you've had any, and how you got to this point in your life. So go for it.
Yeah, so Amber, this is back, I take this back around 22 years. That's when I got married. And so around that time, I was just about 21 and I got married and I moved to Houston, Texas. So, it was a very fun life. You're eating everything and you're just enjoying, your metabolism is super high and everything is like going perfectly fine, until me and my husband decided that we wanted to have a baby. And that's when I started to work on things like checking menstrual cycles and trying to get a proper date for ovulation and stuff. And a couple of months down, I realized I had developed PCOD.
Oh.
Right. So yes, I had to be on medications for a couple of months. Now that happened when I came back to India in 2005, when I started visiting doctors, trying to get pregnant. And that is the time doctors did suggest me in India to go for a IVF and do, a baby with a sperm injection. And I agreed to that. And we went through two of the processes, and both the processes failed at that time. So, it's very disappointing when you're just trying to, build a family. And then I still remember I was leaving the doctor's office and she said, I just have one advice for you. She said, start exercising and fix your food, and it will help. And it really, at that time, it was just, went bonkers. I'm like, she's crazy. What is she talking? She just needs to put me on medication. But trust me, I don't know why I took that advice and I joined the gym. And then I started to fix my food a little bit. Within a year, I was naturally pregnant.
Oh, yay.
So that is something that I wanted to tell even the young girls today who are, playing with their foods, playing with their bodies by doing all these cosmetic things. It's not good. It's not going to help you. Try to, fix your lifestyle. So, anyways, I had a baby and everything, and my exercise routine started. And then, I went back to my old eating habits because now I had a baby and I was that post pregnancy weight and irritation and everything was setting in. But anyways, I went back to exercise. Again, I went back to my original eating. I would go to the gym for hours and hours and I would just eat everything on planet Earth. And I started gaining the weight, you know. So then I started to realize that no matter how much I'm exercising, why is this weight not shifting? So if you had to see me at age 24, 25, I'd look like a 46,
Ooh.
And today I am 46 is what you are seeing me right now. So yes, I have done that for years and I see that happening very much in India right now. People are just exercising mindlessly. That's a huge myth we are facing here in this country. We have to exercise to lose weight. Nobody is fixing the diet. Nobody is concentrating on the lifestyle correction. Although we already know there is tons of diseases around us. There's metabolic syndrome, there's diabetes, obesity. And looking at the way America is soaring in these diseases, I think we really need to learn a lesson quick.
Agree.
So yes, so coming back to my background, well, like I said, I'm not a fitness a certified trainer or a certified nutritionist by profession. I am a jewelry designer.
Oh.
Yes. So I started my business here in India in 2006, and I ran that business very successfully for about 6, 7 years while my child was growing up. Yet again, never paid attention to nutrition because when you're handling a business, it's all by yourself. You're like a one-man show. So everything else was kept aside, and I was just focusing on my work until I realized that yes, I'm working out. I'm going to the gym every day, but nothing seems to work. And I just kept this struggle. The struggle was inside me all the time. That why is weight not shifting? What is the problem? I'd see people around so fit and so fine, and it was just not sitting in my head. Until one day, I remember I visited the doctor for a regular checkup, just a regular visit, and in that I had my LDL level slightly over the borderline. It was just my LDL. There was nothing else wrong. And the doctor gave me a big fat lecture. You need to be on a statin, and you need to cut off your junk, and you need to do this, and you need to exercise more and stuff like that. And he put me on a statin for 4 months. Yeah, I was on that statin, and those 4 months, I was a different person. It was not this anymore. So I couldn't think rationally. I was very irritated, terrible mood swings. Weight was up 15 kilos from what I originally started.
Whoa.
Yes, 15 kilos. Brain always fogged, never, on focus. So something was not happening right. And I didn't have any source to go to find out how do I solve this problem until I started reading a couple of books, and I started doing a research on statins on YouTube and through books and through talking to people. And I realized one common thing that everybody told me was that these statins are life takers, not lifesavers. Right? And I'm sure you would agree to that because there's a lot of work around with statins with such amazing doctors happening right now. So I got into the depth of it, and I decided that I'm going to quit that statin. But obviously the doctor would never allow me to do that because he had said that this is going to be a lifetime medication, right? So the only lesson I learned from these books about statin was the only way to do it is to reverse your lifestyle. And I remember I trashed that medication, and I decided to change everything. And it's that day, 2018, June, and now it's 2021. And I'm down my 15 kilos. All my blood markers are in place. And today I'm lifestyle coaching people.
I love that. That is awesome. Good for you. So just out of curiosity, do people in India view their doctors kind of godlike, like some of our older generation does now, like where what they say is the gospel and you just blindly follow it?
Yes, that is the last word. So if a doctor says it's got to be this way, it just got to be this way. That is the final word. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's very similar here too, but it tends to be more with the older generation that doesn't even question. I'm kind of a oddity because I've never trusted for whatever reason. I don't know. I've never trusted. And so I question. And if I don't like something, I don't do it, and I get up and I walk out, and it's just
true.
Too
but
bad.
That's exactly how it should be. Yes. You have the right to information as a human being. You have a right to knowledge. Even though they wear the white coats and carry the certification, it doesn't mean that they are always right. Because from what I have read, I'm not saying anything against doctors. Doctors really have a very small amount of information on nutrition. That's what they're taught in their medical practice. They are taught to give you a prescription, not to write you nutrition.
That's exactly right. And they'll tell you that. They will tell you that.
Okay. They will tell you that.
Yeah. So tell me, where does your passion come from? Because it comes across to me very plainly that you are so passionate about this. Why?
So I'll take this back to my mother. So I remember when I was doing my journey of the statin, getting off the statin and trying to get my own transformation. And I still remember my mom one day came back from the doctor's visit, And she says, oh, I'm damn excited. I'm like, what happened? And she goes, my diabetes. So she's been a diabetic for the last 30 years now. In India, it's like I said, it's the gospel's word. If it's written diabetic, you are just diabetic. It's like that. And it's very normal to hear for people to get along and say, oh, yeah, we're all diabetic, and it's all very normal. Anyway, I had no much knowledge about diabetes at that time. So I spoke to her and she said, I'm very happy because the doctors are very happy with my numbers. My blood sugars are all in great numbers and I can eat what I like. And I said, wow, you can eat what you like. So you can eat bread and you can eat all those sugary things. Because obviously I know that diabetes is caused because of sugar. She said, oh, yeah. And she's given me these digestive biscuits that I can now eat as a snack. And I was very horrified. That made me open her file and check her medications. And she's been a diabetic for 30 years. And she's having a blood sugar numbers in 3 digits, like 105, 110, which is pretty okay, normal over here. And I said, how is it that she's telling you to take this medication all the time, but not leave these foods? She says, yeah. She said, don't leave the medication and continue to eat what you want. And I'm like, dude, there's something wrong here because that doctor told me you cannot leave the statin. Now this doctor is telling you that you cannot leave these medications, which means there is a loophole somewhere that this medical community is not addressing or does not want to address. And that made me get into all of this. So if you see, most of my posts now are very diabetes related, because what I realized here in India is that those that are already diabetic are being put on medication. Okay. And those that are not diabetic are being given foods that are going to make them diabetic. What are we doing? Are we saving or are we killing?
That's what blows my mind too, because once I think some people just don't really sit and think about it, but you're not gonna, like if you know arsenic is going to eventually cause you issues, even though you can have a little bit now without it killing you, is that a good thing to do? I mean,
exactly.
It makes
it's like telling an alcoholic have little else.
Yes. Just stop taking whatever it is that is causing the issues. And we know what's causing the issues is too much glucose in the blood and the insulin sensitive,
insulin resistance.
Yeah, resistance. And it's like, well, how do you fix that? Well, how about you not flood your blood with glucose, number one?
Absolutely.
It's like that just seems, if you don't want to be inebriated, stop drinking alcohol. Pretty simple,
exactly.
It blows my mind. Okay, so I love that. I think that is awesome that, you just kind of went, whoa, and you're trying to help and make a difference. And that is so important. Let's talk a little bit of difference between India, and let's go ahead and just use Texas as being, since you've lived in Houston, Texas. I love that. Yes. That's so cool. What differences do you see as far as nutrition and even fitness goes between when you lived in Texas versus in India?
Yes. So when I was in Texas, I've seen tons of obese people. And at that point, I swear to God, I never knew myself why this was happening, because I was eating the same way, just like them. Now when I sit back and think of all those aisles at Walmart or Kmart, I realize, where is the problem? The problem comes in those aisles where there's food that's processed, that's junk. Be it India or be it US, the healthcare system is broken. We don't have the money right now, and it's very hard on governments to handle this the way it is. Instead of, why wouldn't governments educate the people to come out of this and save their own lives instead of putting so much money into this healthcare? So instead of giving them medication, why don't you educate them of what is it that you don't want to eat that will not put you on this medicines, right? So this is something I've seen common in both the countries. It's not any different, And it's just that it's just so easy to get food right now. So if you walk into a Walmart, there are like almost 2 McDonald's there, right into a Walmart. What is it that's going to stop you? Nothing. You're just going to go there, eat, and even if you were not hungry. And I think as humans, whether it's US or India, we've just forgotten our instinct to recognize hunger. And that is what is leading to this fat gain, weight gain, this obesity problem. So I don't really see any difference right now where America and India is concerned. I think we are going the same way. In fact, India is at a far worse situation because in every way we're trying to adapt the standard American diet.
I'm so
It's so
sorry.
sad.
I'm so
It is.
sorry.
It is.
That
I'm
US
sad.
influence is awful. And
It's awful.
when that spreads into other countries, you start seeing the same chronic illnesses that we have here. And it's pitiful.
Absolutely.
It's sad.
Yes.
And I feel terrible about that. I mean, not that I had anything to do with it, but that
Yeah.
is one
Well,
thing
as a
I'm
human
not
being,
proud of. I'm not
yes,
proud of
nor
as
am
a
I.
US citizen,
True, true.
that what we're doing is so damaging, and then
Right.
we have our influence out there.
Influence, yes.
It's just terrible. I hate seeing that.
Although the fitness industry, I think in the US is much better. They're far ahead in terms of technology and stuff like that. But in India, everything is like very herd mentality. We just want to follow what the celebs are doing. We just want to go with the ads and all the commercials and stuff
Here
like that.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so frustrating to see because I'm just like, people, hello, critically think. Come on, don't.
They're not eating what they're showing you. Yeah.
No, it's just terrible. And then listening blindly without doing any of your own research, just because it's an authority figure. Even stuff that I say, don't trust me.
Yes.
Go do your own research, and then you decide for yourself. You don't need
and
me
read
to
that
tell
on
you. Yeah. And it's like, it's not, I'm not the end all say all whatever. And I could be wrong too. Or maybe, I haven't got the latest information yet.
Absolutely.
And so you should always do your own
research
regardless. I don't care if it's a doctor. I don't care. Or your best friend. It doesn't matter. Do your research and make sure it's right for you. And just because somebody else that works for them may not work for you, and that's fine. But
it's fine. It's fine.
Let's talk a little bit about the keto diet and carnivore diet in India. How is that taking off? Are you seeing any kind of a growth in people accepting that?
Keto, yes. So India has been a wide, there's been a widespread of carbohydrates in this country, more because we have a huge population of vegetarians. Let me put this disclaimer, I'm not against vegetarians, but all I'm trying to say is that if you look at human evolution, we were never meant to eat plants, right? So, and then I have an argument saying, oh, you were never meant to eat animals either. Well, let me tell you, animals can run for their life, right? Plants cannot run for their life, and they don't have any other way of defending themselves other than letting out the toxins that they do, and that's affecting you sooner or later. So not that I used to never eat plants. I've eaten plants all my life up till about 3 years, rather 2 years, until I changed my lifestyle. But yes, more than plants, I'd say it's the carbohydrates. It's the refined sugars, the processed foods, and the junk. And most vegetarians in India will be dependent on carbohydrates simply because it's there, because ancestors were doing it. It's because they think it's going to give them energy, and they think that meat causes heart attacks. So there's a lot of these myths that is putting the carbohydrate, industry here at a peak currently. And it's really hard to explain to people why these are damaging. Although they know, it's not that they don't know. So when I tell somebody, why are you putting on weight? Oh, I know, I eat sugar. Well, you know it, right? Yeah. So let me help. But I understand, because sugar is something, it's very addictive. It is a drug. And I'd say that openly, just like Sir Robert Lustig says it.
I agree.
It is a drug. So we are hooked on into this vicious cycle, and insulin resistance today is there are, I say, 2 in every house. That is very sad.
It's extremely sad.
What is very shameful about the dietitians and the nutritionists is that they're not educating people on why this is happening. We're just being given a paper diet. So if you see any dietitian or nutritionist in India, he just gives you a paper diet starts from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Right? We know we need to eat, but we need to understand what to eat and why is it that we don't need to eat certain items. That is the education I'm trying to help people do it, because I'm not just saying this from books that I'm reading. I have done it. I have transformed my journey from eating carbohydrate, being a carboholic, and seeing how my weight has been gaining. And then when I started to quit it, obviously not at a very fast pace, I did it very slowly, but I have seen not only weight loss, but metabolic health. So blood markers
So
are
important.
in shape. That is the problem. In this country, when I talk to somebody, the first thing they tell me is, I want weight loss.
Yep.
And I am still waiting for people to tell me I want health gain.
Yes.
So the moment somebody says health gain, I'm like, you're on board with me.
Yes.
Because
it's taken me many years to get there, but that you're absolutely right.
Because weight gain can never reside in a healthy body. Never. It's always the unhealthy body that takes the weight gain. And I always tell people, weight gain is not that you are not exercising or that you are overeating. No, it is not. It is simply your body telling you, I am punishing you for the things that you are eating against my biology.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. Yeah, because that's your body's way of protecting you, actually.
Absolutely.
And if you didn't have that mechanism, you'd be in a whole lot of trouble. So
Yes.
it seems kind of counterproductive, but
yes,
that it works that way. Yeah.
right. So it's like, you're having rain, but rains are good as far as they're in a limit. When they go overboard, then it becomes a tsunami or, a cyclone. We don't want that. And that is what is happening here. The overconsumption of carbohydrate is driving people to hit the gyms where they don't realize it's not the gym that's going to help you. You first need to correct that nutrition, bring that weight down, correct your metabolic health.
Absolutely.
For a simple headache, we are given an antibiotic. Why?
Yeah. It's the craziest thing to me now that my eyes are open, but I was once there too. So
Really?
I totally understand, but once you see it, you're like, I got to do something about this.
I got to do something about
it. That's why I'm so yappy about it.
I know, and I really appreciate your work.
Well, thank
You're there every day with so many different people. See, we wouldn't even know that, somebody like Srinivasan even exists, even though he's from India. Right? But now that we know about how each of us are trying to spread this message. So coming back to keto. So keto has a very bad name in India.
Oh.
Not that everybody thinks that way about keto. There's a lot of times that people are doing the dirty keto, taking it to extremes. And then again, they don't have the right knowledge about keto. What is keto? What is the state of ketosis? What is it? It's a metabolic state of your body. That's the way your body is designed to function. But yet again, the addiction of carbohydrates, the addiction of the processed foods, and then the commercials trying to drive you crazy, it's a vicious cycle. So keto has a very bad name. And I always tell people, keto is not a diet. It never was a diet because our ancestors always followed keto. Keto simply means you're eating a group of food that your body cannot produce for you. That's protein and fat. And when you're eating carbohydrate, that is one component your body has every mechanism to produce. Your liver can do that for you. Can you leave that job for your liver? But we're just doing the opposite, and then we complain weight gain. So the minute you say fat and protein, everybody's eyes are like popping up. I'm like, you don't pop your eyes when you eat sugar.
So true.
And now carnivore is another level. Oh, you're carnivore, so you're not touching vegetables. How do you go to poop? I'm like, dude, I eat good quality meat. So everything comes down to constipation in India. We have been scared with constipation. If you're going to eat the right food, you're going to get that shit out.
That's the number one thing I always get. You must be just so constipated, especially with all that meat rotting in your gut. And I'm like,
So you get that question too?
Oh God, yes, all the time. These little comments, but you need fiber. Really? Because
Yeah.
over 2 years now, I've had none. I poop just fine. Thank you. And I'm not in pain. I don't have bloating. I don't have gas. I don't have constipation anymore.
And you look great. Look at your skin.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And I feel amazing. So, fiber, I'm kind of thinking that's the whole thing is overrated. And if you're eating the right things, you don't need that to go poop. When you're eating junk, it helps to bulk and force the stimulation and the peristalsis to work. But if you're eating the right thing, you don't need that. Newsflash, you go just
and we don't have any enzyme to digest fiber. It just goes in and it's out. What is it going to do? So India has this really, fancy way of making fruit juices and vegetable juices where we're having celery juice every morning. And if somebody said, I want to have a green smoothie, green smoothie, I'm like, can I ask you, what does it do? If you cannot answer me the why are you having it? There is no use of that juice to you.
Juices kill me. Okay, so in India, I've had so many people come back at me when I had BNS on, and he was talking about how it is in India and etc. And people are saying, well, the reason why that you don't see carnivore is because it's against the religion to eat meat. Is that true? Yes. All meat, or is it just beef?
No, it's so for Hindus, if we're talking about just the Hindu community, yes, it is all meat. So they'll be all plant-based. But again, for the Muslims, it's just the pork that they're avoiding. They're still eating the lamb and the mutton and stuff. And for the Catholics and the Christians, they're eating everything.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
So most of India is covered with Hindus, and that is the reason this issue of meat and cities that are not in favor of cutting meat or killing animals and stuff. And then again, we have the vegan community. That's a separate section we're dealing with right now.
Oh, interesting. So how do you approach people like when they come to you and they want help? Do they have a hard time wrapping their mind around the fact that meat is actually the most nutrient dense food we can eat, and that will, really help to promote, better health?
So the people who are non-vegetarian, who eat meat, well, it's not so tough for me to deal with them. But of lately, I have been having a little tough time because now I'm noticing that those that eat meat are still preferring to take veg food, plant-based food. Mm-hmm. Now, that is a shift that most of me and my colleagues are facing with this, with this problem. And this is something we need to deal literally every day. And I'm like, you are a non-veg eater. Why are you eating or being dependent on plant food? And again, the answer is the same, the fiber content. So yes, it's very hard, but we're trying slowly. We're trying to replace, meal by meal, trying to make them understand what is the meaning of fullness or what is the meaning of satiety. This is one term that people in India are not understanding. They're not being able to recognize their satiety levels. And that is because of the carbohydrate consumption, because leptin is just not working for them. So it is hard, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what about your vegetarian clients or even vegans? How do you help them with, especially if they have certain conditions that are more plant related? I mean, some people do fine on plants, and I have no issue with that. It's all great. It's all fine. But there are certain conditions like autoimmune issues, skin issues. There are certain things where some people have to go all the way carnivore if they want this corrected. So how do you deal with those people where you look and you're like, I'm almost 100% sure that it's because you're eating this?
Yes.
How do you deal with that?
So with them, it's really hard because obviously they're coming to me after even visiting a doctor, and the doctor has given them that final word that it's going to be just medication for them. So for those people, when they come to me, it's really hard because I need to try to explain to them that I want you to be disease free. I have to give those a little emotional talk about how important they are to their family. Because it's like I said, it's very hard. So there are a lot of people who have come to me, and I have tried to help them out, and especially with autoimmune diseases. And that one visit to their physician just puts water all over my effort.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's sad. But I try to convince them, with research based, whatever I read and whatever I have learned. So it's not that I'm just talking out of my mouth. It's always that I try to convince them with showing them results of how this works and how science works. So most of them, yes, are convinced, but then again, some of them are hard. And I think it will just take them some time. So I never like to force anything on anybody. I always leave the choice to them. And I always say, when your calling will come, you will come to me. Till then, I can only pray for you.
That's for sure. And in the meantime, it's so hard because and you're watching, but at the same time, you also understand where their thoughts are coming from, especially in the older generations who have grown up believing a certain thing because that's what they've always been told. Same with us. I mean, it's the same thing. I know with me, I believe red meat wasn't the best. You shouldn't have it too often. Saturated fat. Oh my goodness, that's terrible. You're supposed to do the seed oils because that's heart healthy.
Right.
And, all those things. And I believe that too. I was so incredibly low fat when I was growing up because that's what you're told is healthy. Oh God.
And that's exactly
I think of the Crisco, the corn oil, oh my God, soybean oil.
Bran.
Oh yeah. I just die thinking of that because what damage did I do to my body? I can't even imagine, because that was a good 40 years of my life. So that's kind of a long time.
And another thing in India is that also, everything is being compared with money. So it's always, they're comparing health with how expensive it is to be healthy. Well, I always say if you're going to save that money by not buying an avocado or not buying correct oils, well, I just advise you to keep that money for a doctor because it's going to go.
Yeah, you gotta pick what you're going to spend your money on because it's either deal with your health now or you're going to pay for it later in medications, doctor's appointments, and
I'm only saying that out of experience. Yeah, I would agree with you.
Yeah,
I would agree. I have done that myself. So until I did not take this nutrition very seriously in my life to change my oils, and it was a very hard time because when I was trying to change my mother's foods, it was a tough time. She's 73 and she goes like, you leave my home, man. I'm not changing my oil.
I've heard that.
And now her numbers are in double digits. The glucose is in double digits. So it's always, I know it's very hard because from where it's coming, but just that little shift is important. And then believe me, if everybody just does this little shift, the world will change. We are soaring at 74 million diabetics. It's not a joke.
Man. Yeah. I've read that and talking to BNS, and he was telling me just, how incredibly, popular, if you will, common it's becoming. That's pitiful. I mean, it's bad enough here. But to see the growth over there of these chronic diseases is just sad. It's horrific. Like, learn from our mistakes, learn from us. Don't do the same thing. Learn.
Totally agree.
It is so hard trying to fight all the propaganda, that you see all over TV, and that, your doctors are taught, your dietitians are taught, and your grandmother tells you this, and your mom and your friends, because that's what we all believe. You hear it enough and it becomes the truth, regardless of if it's true or not. It becomes the truth if you hear it enough. And, that's what we're battling. We are really battling that. And people call us conspiracy theorists and, we're crazy. You're going to have a heart attack and the meat rotten in your gut. And, you hear all this stuff and you're like,
meat can never rot in your gut simply because meat
doesn't get that far.
Exactly. And it's with the other things. So it's what you're eating with your meat. You're eating the pasta, the bread,
French
the
fries.
bagel, all the French fries. Yeah. So meat doesn't rot. Meat requires a good amount of fluid to just digest and pass off and leave the nutrients with your cells. That's all. That's what meat does. And meat gives you satiety. This is what I said. This is what's missing in India. It's because of the grain consumption. The
constant hunger.
constant hunger. And we have
Oh,
grains in
sorry.
all forms.
Ooh.
You name it. We have almond flour now. We have coconut flour. So if we don't have this flour, we're going to have this flour, but we dead sure going to have a flour.
Yep.
You know, so this constant grain consumption, and then this, look at the variety. You walk into a grocery store and there's tons of flours available, all forms, all flavors. So it's red rice, and then there's brown rice, and then there's black rice. I'm like, what are you doing? You want to eat rice? Just go pick a bowl, eat it, forget about it. Stop this fooling of being healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a big staple, right? Is rice.
Yeah, it's a staple diet for our country. It is. Grains and all forms of flours. Yeah.
So they're eating more of the rice. From what I understand, portions are getting bigger, like where it used to be like kind of more like a little side dish. Now it's like a lot.
Yes.
And then they're
Yes.
adding in the seed oils, cooking with that
Yes.
instead of what they used to cook with.
And going low fat.
Oh God, and going low fat too. Oh,
Yes.
okay. All
So
right.
there's no butter being used, there's a scare of ghee being used. And when I cook my meals, if you've seen my plates, I pour the ghee. You know, I never count the calories because and there's another this huge myth in India about calorie counting. I'm like, brother, you're eating a certain net calorie. You don't even know how much your body is going to be using or storing for that matter, right? Because there are other functions in your body happening which require calorie consumption or calorie burning. There's non-exercise thermogenesis. There is diet-induced thermogenesis, which is, you know, when your digestion is happening, you need calories to burn. There is muscle protein synthesis happening, which requires calories to burn. And then there is, excess post-oxygen consumption. Rest, when you're resting after an exercise, your body needs calories to burn. How are you calculating calories if you're just calculating what goes in when you do not know what's going out?
That's exactly right. And that was one of my questions I was going to ask you, is the calories
Yeah.
in, calories out, thing. Now, I do believe absolutely calories matter. Yes, they do.
Yes.
But calories count, but you don't have to count them because it's not accurate. It is so off anyway. Your body's not a closed system. So talk a little bit about that. How do you explain this to your clients when they're, calories? How do you explain to them that it's really not that simple, that it's so much more than just numbers on a piece of paper?
Yes. So I always give this very common example to most of my trainees, and I tell them, so let's say, I said, let's say you get 5,000 rupees every week to spend. Okay, let's say I'm giving you 5,000 every week and you're spending it very nicely. Now, after a couple of weeks, I say, I don't have 5,000, I'm going to give you 2,000 rupees. So then comes out their smart answer. And I ask them, if I give you only 2,000 now, are you going to still continue to spend 5,000 so that you're going to have to put the 3,000 from your own pocket and try to spend it, right? For that deficit. Because earlier you were getting 5,000 to spend, so you were spending 5,000. Now I have reduced the 5 to 2,000, which means there is a deficit of 3,000. So they say, oh no, we're not stupid. We're going to only spend 2,000. Right? Mm-hmm. And I said, that's exactly how your body works. If you are putting in less, why should your body expend more? So eat less, move more. How is it going to work?
Didn't work for me.
It didn't work. Your body needs to survive. It needs to keep your organs alive. And to keep your organs alive, it needs calories. It needs the fat. It needs the weight. It will not let it go. That's one reason. Secondly, when you are eating the bad calories. Your cells are constantly going to be hungry.
Yes. Thank you. I was hoping you were getting there.
Yeah. Because everything that you're eating is only going into storage. Where is the usage? You are eating foods that are driving insulin, and insulin is a hormone. I think even Google will give you that answer. So it's very simple. That's exactly how science works. You eat a food, your food gets metabolized in a certain way, depending on what is the quality you've eaten. So if you've eaten things like a sugary gummy bear, it's not going to be used by your cells. Your cells are going to reject it. And it's going to land up in the fat storage.
compared to if you're eating maybe a bowl of broccoli. Well, yes, that is the nutrition your cells require. How are we calculating calories now? There is no way to understand where is the expenditure happening or where is the storage happening. We are not a bank that we eat and then we use it and then we store it. It's not that easy as a number. We are driven by hormones. And a lot of our carbohydrates that we are eating is stopping leptin from being produced or we're becoming leptin resistant now. Our brain is not able to communicate with our fat cells to tell us to stop eating. And yet we are counting calories. Because I've been seeing dietitians being giving diet papers which says, oh, only 2 eggs. I'm like, she's done a 1-hour workout and you expect her to eat just 2 eggs? Her cells are going to be dying of hunger. And then what happens is you tend to reach out for the wrong food post-workout.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're so brain fogged, you're just looking for food. So this is another problem with people here is that they will exercise for hours in the gym. And I have done it myself.
Me too.
And when I finish the workout, I'm all over my plate to whatever I see on there. I don't care what there is. So I've actually landed back or in a worse position than from where I started now.
Yep.
So calorie counting is not required by humans. Yes, like you said, calories matter. Let the brain do that job of counting the calories. It knows where to use that energy, how to metabolize that fat, how to metabolize that glucose. We just have to make sure we take in foods that always keep us in a fat or usage mode, not a storage mode.
Yes. Awesome. Yes. Okay. So it would be safe to say then a calorie is not a calorie, as in 100 calories of a Snickers bar is not going to do the same thing in your body as 100 calories of ribeye.
Not at all.
And explain a little bit why, because technically, okay, so if you're just going for weight loss, I'm not even talking fat loss, weight loss, and you reduce your calories, like at one point I was eating only 800 calories, and I could do that technically eating 800 calories of a Snickers bar. I could still lose weight because I'm still at a very low, a pretty big deficit, right? Because 800 calories. So I'm going to lose weight, right? But what is that doing to my body? How is that helping me long term?
It's going to plateau. See, your body has a set point. It has a set temperature or like a set point of your weight. And every time you are doing a diet or this calorie deficit, your body is in a confusion. It's trying its best to reach that set point because that is your set weight in your DNA. Right? We have just assumed that, oh, I want to be at this particular weight, but maybe that's not the ideal weight as per your body. Your body has a different set point, and we're constantly jumping with that number. So yes, when you do a calorie deficit, I would agree that you do lose weight or you come down a little bit on your weight. But after a certain plateau, that body is going to try to jump back to that weight, that set point. Because that set point was decided by the low quality foods that you've always been eating. So always, when your quality of foods is high, your set point will be low. And that's a very good sign because that means you have a good, fast metabolism. And we always need to be at a lower set point so that our metabolism goes faster. That means whatever we eat, we're going to use it up. And that is the reason you can calorie count for a month, 2 months. How long are you going to track this? You're going to have to count the crumbs that fall down on your weighing scale then. If you have to be so accurate.
Exactly. There is no way to be completely accurate. There's just not. And can you live your life like that?
That's the point.
No.
Why wouldn't I instead take a bowl or take a plate, eat to satiety, eat till I get a signal I am full. There's nothing to count, provided I'm eating the right quality, what my cells require. So no matter how badly I'm eating, even if I'm eating in a calorie deficit, my body is still going to metabolize that as sugar or as fat. It's not going to do anything different. And I don't really believe in moderation. So, because I always feel that abstinence is a better way of, getting it off from the root. Because in moderation, you are sometimes in peer pressure and, with social surroundings and emotional stress, you just land up eating. You just go overboard. And like I said, leptin doesn't work with carbohydrates. We
That's
can eat
exactly
a whole
right.
cup of popcorn, but you cannot eat 10 pounds of ribeye. You can't.
I sure can't. I cannot overeat protein, meat. I cannot. I can't. I mean, I tried. I tried at
No
one of those
human can.
Brazilian places. Just
Yeah.
get your $50 worth, right? So I tried, and I'm like, I can't eat any
Impossible.
more than I normally do. So, oh well, is it worth
I
the
don't-
$50? Probably not. But it was fun, and I enjoyed it, so it was all good. But whatever, you
Exactly.
feel like you need to eat your money's worth, right?
Right.
Nope.
So I
nope.
always tell
You do.
people, you don't need anybody to write you a paper and tell you to eat 4 eggs or, eat half a pound of ribeye. Just eat as per your hunger. If you see animals, they always eat as per their instinct. So the two things I've always noticed with animals, and I think we should learn this from animals, is that they never eat, what you serve them. They eat exactly what their food is. So a dog will only take bones. It's not going to eat your ice cream if you're going to serve him. And the second thing is they will only eat when they are hungry.
Unless you have my dog, a lab. Labs are a different breed.
Yeah.
My other dogs, yeah, not a problem. My labs,
Yeah.
a problem. Yeah. You keep putting food down, they're going to keep eating. Yeah. I had one dog, we left on vacation, and I had a friend just come over and make sure she was okay and all. And we had an automatic feeder that kept releasing as she would eat. And my friend called us and said, after 2 days, and said, all the food's gone. And I'm like, what? That was a huge bag of food. And she was like, when we got home, she was like, yeah. So, and we do have some people who have the same issue. Like, for instance, people who have binge eating disorders. I have learned through this, I was a binge eater, but I don't have this issue anymore. But some people do. They can actually bypass their natural satiety signals. Like, they just keep eating past that point. And so there are some exceptions, but generally speaking, like I say, I physically can't. Oh, I could overeat carbohydrates. Even after eating meat that satiated me, if I was to eat carbohydrates, I could keep eating that. I could eat dessert. I could eat other things because I'm not volume full. I'm satiety full. But the
I always mention about the difference of being full.
It's so huge.
Fullness. But protein and fat give you satiety. And that is just what we need to recognize. So again, fat being more dense in terms of calorifically, it's more 9 kilocalories per gram. So that should be enough to keep you full. Why would you want to eat half the amount of carbohydrates and then double it up to get that satiety? And you're not going to get it.
No, you don't. Not for long anyway.
Yeah. And you're going to become insulin resistant. For how long is your insulin going to keep pumping out all the time you're eating carbohydrate?
Because you're eating all day long.
We are eating 8 meals a day. That's 3 big meals plus 5 snacks. And that's 500 carbohydrates per meal.
No.
We don't even require 1% of that.
We don't require any, technically.
So
that's the mind-boggling.
Absolutely, it is. So I tell people, your liver can produce its own sugar. And they're like, what? I'm crazy. I'm like, no, I can show you science and I can show you the process of how gluconeogenesis works. You just have to recognize it. That's all. I'm not saying don't cheat. So cheat meal is another big topic in India. Why don't we get a cheat meal? Why would you need a cheat meal when you can enjoy every food as a treat? And the only food that will give you that happiness or that treat feeling is fat.
True.
The elimination of fat from the market or from the food industry gave rise to the introduction of sugars in every form. So they have a bliss point. There is a bliss point. There's a research center which, wherein they're testing people's bliss point to understand at what point is it going to really hit your dopamine.
Yep.
And that's how deep this is going.
Yeah. And from what I understand, there may be new science out here about this, but to get the pleasure from a food, it's just within the first 3 bites or 3 drinks. After that, you don't gain anything more from that. You're just eating to eat as far as the pleasure part goes, like enjoying a food. So you're not going to gain any more pleasure by eating a plateful of a cake versus 3 bites of cake. And so if you kind of break it down and you think about it, is 3 bites really worth, setting me back from my goals, from, possibly, causing my issues to return, whatever the issue may be? Is it really worth 3 bites? That's what I always tell my clients, think about it.
Yeah.
3 bites, that's it. The rest of it, you're not gaining anything from, so you're just eating it. So 3 bites is worth messing up everything you worked so hard for.
Yeah.
If it is, okay. Okay, if it's worth it to you, you're an adult, make that decision. But understand that you're going to have consequences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would totally agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, let me check the time here. Ooh, okay. Okay, let me just make sure.
We can go on talking, right, Amber?
Sure. Okay. Okay. So what is the best way of keeping your insulin down? Because we've talked about how it is important not to keep bumping and spiking your insulin all through the day. So how do you keep it steady? How do you keep it from doing these spikes and drops and, being chronically high all the time?
Yeah. So there's a very nice way, and I read about this in one of my books that I was doing. It was by Jonathan Baylor. The book is called Calorie Myth. It's a fantastic book, and it breaks a lot of myths about calories, how calories, affect our biology. So I read about this, and they mentioned in the book was about these 4 quality factors of how you can control what you're eating. So you have to. The shortcut word is called SANE, SANE. And that's how you recognize your food. So the first thing it says was S, which says satiety. So you eat foods that give you satiety. Yeah, that's one way of keeping your insulin low. The second thing it mentioned was about aggressiveness, how aggressive a food is in terms of calorie, how quickly it's going to, raise your blood glucose, how aggressive that.
Okay.
We're talking about glycemic load and index there. The third thing is nutrition. How nutrient dense is your meal? That will help to keep your insulin low. So the less nutrition, the higher your insulin will pump out. And the fourth one was, it was E. So it was efficiency. How efficiently will that food be converted into fat? So I always go with this word whenever I'm eating something to understand how my insulin will spike, or that's the advice I give people. So check your foods. How sane is your food? You need foods that give you satiety. That's your fats, and fats are insulinogenic. They will not raise your insulin. How aggressive your food is, how much of that food will be converted to sugar. So when you know that it's a coconut pie or it's an apple pie, it's going to raise your sugar. Insulin is going to be high, right? Third is your nutrition value. Obviously, a cookie is worse than having a piece of broccoli. So that again is going to decide your insulin release. And the fourth is the efficiency, how quickly that food is going to be converted into fat. Because the higher the carbohydrate, the more the insulin, and the quicker it converts it to fat. So the best advice to keep insulin low is eat what your body cannot produce. Fat and protein. Do not eat what your body can produce, the non-essential carbohydrate, because that is what is going to keep your insulin low. Because if you don't eat carbohydrates, you don't pump so much insulin. Yes, insulin is required at a baseline, which your body will keep generating every 55 minutes from the body for its baseline, functioning. But further than that, not required.
Exactly.
So you don't want the fat.
Have you ever done a CGM experiment? Have you ever done
Yes,
one?
I just in fact completed one last weekend, and I did a 36-hour water fast.
Oh,
So yeah, I've done a 60-hour in 2018, and that 60-hour was fabulous. Also because I had a lot of body fat at that time, so I had enough of stored fats to use. At that time, I never did the CGM, but yes, last weekend I did the CGM, and it was a 36-hour water fast, and my blood glucose was 71 on the fast, right before opening my fast at 36 hours, and post my meal it was 78,
wow.
and I just had 2 pieces of steak.
Wow. Yeah. So what did you learn? What did you take away from the CGM? What was one thing that just really stood out for you?
That your body can produce its own glucose. You do not need exogenous glucose to survive. If my body is showing a CGM number of 71 pre-meal, which means in fasting, which means in the 36 hours, my fats and proteins have done their job of doing structural work or have given me energy to survive those 36 hours. But they have also done the job of converting the cholesterol and the amino acids into breaking down into glucose through gluconeogenesis. And it has done a brilliant job by supplying it to whichever cells require it. There is no requirement of sugars from outside. So we have this issue of hypoglycemia in India. Oh, I don't eat and I'm going to faint. I'm going to pass out. And that is the reason I did the CGM, just to help people to understand that if your body has switched fuel source from using or burning sugar as fuel to burning fat as fuel, you are in a better shape, not only health-wise, but also weight-wise, and you're metabolically very good to go.
Was there anything did you try anything like experiment with certain foods just to kind of see the differences? And if you did, what did you find out?
So I haven't really done anything with with the carbohydrates, because I don't take any in the last 3 years. But I am planning to do something next month with the CGM monitor to see certain, for example, certain fruits. So fruits in India is huge emotional topic. You cannot touch that topic. Yeah, if I say no fruits, oh my God, I am the devil.
Yeah, but it's so good for you. You're supposed to eat those all the time, all day long.
Yeah, well, they have all the vitamins and the minerals. So let me put all those vitamins and minerals now in a donut and serve it. I mean, it's going to be the same job, right?
Oh, yeah.
Understanding of a non-alcoholic fatty liver. Where is it coming from? Why are we intaking so much of fructose today in different forms? Processed food, junk food, fruits. So we in India don't eat a fruit. We eat fruits in plural. Trust me. And we'll eat it after finishing the dinner. And after finishing the dessert, we will then sit with a platter of fruits watching television.
Wow.
I say pity your liver.
Oh, the only thing I tested on the CGM fruit wise was a banana, because that is something that I absolutely loved, my bananas, and I hadn't had one in 3 years. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 4 years. And so I thought, oh, I'll just try that. And honestly, it wasn't as bad as I thought. It never reached that 140 cutoff. It was close. The only thing that I experimented with that shot above the 140 was honey. And you know why I tried honey, because in our community, there's such a fight between, oh, yes, honey is carnivore. It's a great thing. And, oh my gosh, no, it's going to spike my glucose. Well, I'm just going to tell you, it spiked the crap out of mine. And then it crashed quickly. And I was nauseous. I was dizzy, and I felt like crap. The banana didn't make me do that. It didn't go down quite as, dramatic and plummet. It just kind of a little more steady down, but it didn't make me feel horrible. But that honey did. It made me so lightheaded, and I have no desire to ever have it again. And it's not something I would ever care to have again. It was way too sweet and too, it's just not something I'd ever want again. But I used to eat it every day when I thought I was being healthy, and mix it with peanut butter, good protein
Yeah.
and, healthy honey, right? Local honey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same issue we have here with honey. Everything has to be added with honey.
Oh,
And then we're also adding white sugars.
ugh.
So there's a lot. So I think we're just destroying our insulin sensitivity with all of this. I'm not against eating a fruit as per se, but I always say, why don't you just keep it as a substitute or use it when there's food not available, when you really need that glucose, and you should be capable enough to handle that glucose. You're already handling 500 grams of carbohydrates a day, and then you want to add it up with honey or desserts with honey. So most of our Indian desserts are very sweet, very sweet. We've got jaggery, we've got dates, we've got honey, we've got a lot of coconut being used. So it's amalgamation of all of these things and put together, and you're still thinking it's all natural. So it's very healthy. Well, I'm not saying our ancestors never ate honey. Yes, they did. But if they were given a preference between animal food and a honeycomb, it would always be animal food first.
Absolutely. I agree
And
with
that's
that
what they
100%.
did. And that's what they did with fruit. They always took a fruit when there was no food available. But today we are eating fruit in between food meals. We're also adding fruit now to juices and to smoothies and get all the fiber out and making it worse. Well, that's another topic.
And it's all seasons, all year round. And
yes, you can find a mango all year round. You can find an apple all year round. There's no such thing as a seasonal fruit. We don't go plucking our fruits anymore. We get it from the markets, which are air conditioned. There's been pesticides all over them.
Yes.
And we call them natural.
And healthy. Very healthy.
Absolutely. Yes. That is a very emotional word being attached to everything. So
keto, for example, if I want to sell you something, I just need to attach the word keto before it and I can sell it to you. It's that easy. But you don't understand what is the science of keto. And then when it doesn't work, you come back saying, oh, keto doesn't work. So I have a lot of people who tell me, oh, we lost 15 kilos or 20 kgs on keto. And I'm like, what happened to you right now? You look like 30 kgs up. They're like, yeah, we left keto. I'm like, well, obviously, oh, keto doesn't work. I said, keto works. Keto works. You did not work with keto. You decided to go back to your wrong eating habits. So please don't blame a lifestyle or a diet plan.
Yes. That is so true. And I hear that all the time. Oh, well, it just didn't work for me. And I'm not saying that, keto and carnivore is right for every single person in the whole entire world. I'm never going to say that. But so many times when they say something doesn't work is because of what you said. Just like you can do keto good and you can do it in a not so healthy way. You can eat the processed keto-fied foods. You can, if it fits your macros, those where they don't care about the nutrient density and the health properties of the food, but they're staying within a certain range of carbohydrates. So technically they're in ketosis. So therefore they're doing the ketogenic diet. But there's such a difference. And at first, I admit I did that too. I did the desserts. I did, and occasionally I would have a keto treat. I didn't really care for most of them, honestly. So I didn't really eat them very much. But by the end, before I transitioned into carnivore, I had already weeded all that out because I just didn't care about it anymore. And it just didn't serve any purpose for me. Right. And it didn't give me the pleasure like it used to. And so it was no big deal.
So another thing about, so when I always tell people about ketogenic diet, so I always try to explain to them another concept of metabolic flexibility. So, sticking on to or getting obsessed by being in ketosis is not going to give you health. You have to learn to be metabolically flexible. So tomorrow, if you're on a ketogenic diet and all of a sudden, if you were given a bowl of ice cream and let's say you eat it, your body should know quickly what to do with it. That is a switch we are looking for. And that metabolic flexibility will keep you in a right weight maintenance, in a right frame of health. Not being in ketosis and being obsessed with those numbers on your machines.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Oh my goodness. Well, Mahek, it has been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you
you.
so much for coming on. I've really
Thank you.
enjoyed this and I adore you. I love you. Keep doing what you're doing. You're inspirational. I love your fitness videos you do. So, hey, y'all, while you're here, subscribe to my channel and then go follow Mahek. I will have all her information below. So, follow her. She's awesome, a wonderful person. So,
Thank you so much,
thank
Amber.
you.
Pleasure being with you, and I'm so privileged to be on your show. Thank you, and you too keep doing the work that you're doing. I'm going to keep spreading the word for you too.
Oh, thank you. I love that. Bye.